Hello and welcome to this brand new video on Windows 98 on VirtualBox. Now, I made a previous video on this. It's had a lot of views, over 50,000 views, and for the most part people really enjoyed the video, but I was never really completely happy with it. However, since VirtualBox version 6 has come out, things have improved a lot, and it has meant that it's well worth making a new video where I can cover a lot more new aspects of how to use Windows 98 successfully within VirtualBox, and hopefully I can make a much better video. I also promised a part 2 when I made the previous video. I could incorporate some of the things I was going to do in a part 2 video into this video, but more importantly, doing this video will mean that I can do a successful part 2. So that definitely will be coming very soon after this video is released. So the first thing we need to do, the thing that's going to take the most time to do, is downloading a copy of Windows 98 2nd edition. So what you'll want to do is open up this page here. So it's winworldpc.com, and then you can browse to Windows 98. Alternatively, I am going to put a link in the description so you can go straight there. Now, most copies of Windows 98 are not bootable, but one that is the OEM full, so that's this one here. So that's the one you really want to be downloading. Now, I'm going to click on this link here just to show this next page. You can choose whichever one of these links is closest to you and start downloading it, but in my experience it's quite slow. Not because of my internet connection, but just generally they're just very slow downloads from there. So I've already downloaded a copy and copied it to my desktop. Okay, so once you do that, the next thing that you'll need to do is download VirtualBox. So here's the address, www.virtualbox.org/wiki/downloads. Once again, I'll put this link in the description below. And we're doing this on a Windows host, a Windows 10 host. If you're doing it on a different host, by all means you should be able to follow along, but I can't promise there won't be any differences. So we're going to click on Windows hosts and download the file. It's 168 megabytes. It's a pretty good quick download, as you can see, so that's only going to take a few more seconds. Okay, so that's finished downloading. You'll notice I'm downloading version 6.0.8. It's likely that there'll be new versions out when you're watching and following along with this video, but everything should be pretty similar. So let's click down here and start the installation. It's a very simple installation. We just stick with the defaults for everything. And yep, let's start VirtualBox. Okay, so when you reach this page here, the first thing we want to do is click on New, and let's type in the name of our operating system. We can call this whatever we like. It's quite useful to use Windows 98 in the title, because then it automatically chooses the type and the version down here. If you choose a different name for it and this isn't automatically selected, then you do need to choose Microsoft Windows and then Windows 98 respectively. So let's click next. I'm going to choose 512 megabytes of RAM. I've always had a great deal of success with that amount of memory, and we'll leave that as support as the default. Create a virtual hard disk now, and we're going to use this one, VDI VirtualBox disk image. Click next. And we are going to leave this as the default, dynamically allocated. And amount of hard disk space, 2 gigabytes for what I'm doing now is about right, but of course that very much depends what you're going to be using this operating system for. If you're going to be storing a lot of data on there, then you might want to make that bigger. Right, we're not ready to switch it on just yet. We've got to go into Settings, And let's just run through all of these. We don't make any changes on general. Go to System. May as well unclick floppy. Chipset, we'll leave that the same. We want to change the pointing device to USB tablet and select this first one here, enable input output API-C. Go over to processor and enable PAE/NX, and then to acceleration, leave that as default. Go to display. We want more memory than that for our virtual graphics card. I'm going to make that 64 megabytes, and enable 3D acceleration and enable 2D acceleration. Storage, click on the CD image here and then here, and then we just want to choose our virtual optical disk image. You might need to browse for it, but here's mine, Windows 98 2nd edition.iso. That is this image on the desktop here. Okay, we leave this as NAT, leave the USB the same. That's it, that's okay. Click OK. Now what we want to do is, shall we start it now? Yep, I think we will. Let's click Start. And we want to boot from the CD-ROM. That's option 2. And we want option 1 there, start Windows 98 setup from CD-ROM. We're going to be making a lot of selections like that, and it's very important that you follow along and choose the correct ones at the right time. So we just hit enter on this page, and then we want to leave that as default. Configure unallocated disk space recommended. We don't want the default option, we want the bottom one here, yes, enable large disk support, and then we can click enter. And we want to boot from the CD-ROM again, option 2, and we want option 1 again, start Windows 98 setup from CD-ROM. That's going to very quickly format the drive. And we've got two options here, either to carry on installing Windows or quit setup, press escape. We want to press escape, we do not want to continue here. Once we push escape, we can press enter, or any key for that matter, and then we want option 2, boot from the CD-ROM again. Okay, at this screen we want option 2, start computer with CD-ROM support. Change the C drive by typing C:, enter, and then type in mkdir, which is an abbreviation of make directory, or create a folder, and we want to call it Win98. Okay, so now we want to, if we I'll just show you, if I change to the D drive and then type dir, it shows that we can see the contents of our CD-ROM that we attached, the Windows 98 CD. Okay, so I'm going to go back to C drive, I'm going to type in copy D:\Win98, so that's going to copy the contents of the Win98 folder that you can see here, directory, and we will do a space, and then we want to copy that to C:\Win98, which is, sorry, C:\Win98, and that is the directory that we just created using the mkdir command. Press enter and it copies all of the contents across into that new directory. Okay, so now we want to go into that Windows, excuse me, we want to go into that Win98 directory that we just created, and there is an executable file in there called setup, and we need to do a couple of switches. We do /P and then space and then J. The /P just means that we can add a switch, and the J forces Windows to install with ACPI support, and we'll talk a little bit more in detail about that later on. but this is something we need to do in order to make sure that Windows runs without the CPU running at 100% all the time. Okay, so push enter and then enter again. Where we want to install Windows 98, we can leave that as default. Click next. We want a typical setup. Click next. We want to install the most common components recommended. Click next. And we can leave the computer name or work group, etc. the same. That's absolutely fine. You can change the computer name to anything you like if you wish. Click next. I'm going to select United Kingdom as my location. Click next. Startup disk, we click next at this point, and then when it asks us to put a floppy disk in drive A, we choose cancel, and then we select OK, and then we continue with next. And now this bit takes a little bit of time. I'm going to pause the video and come back once we're at the next step. Okay, so the file copy progress is at 100%, so we can now click OK to restart the computer. And click restart now. This time we don't want to boot from the CD-ROM, we want to boot from the hard disk. So option 1, hit enter. And then you can put a name in here, company name if you wish. Click next. Accept the agreement if you do. Click next. Now we need a license key. Now that's pretty straightforward. Bear with me a second while I find it. Right, so click back from where we downloaded Windows 98, and then on this page, if you scrolled up, we've got the serial numbers just here. So we can just use the top one. And then click next and click finish. This step is going to take a couple of minutes as well, so I will pause the video, be back when we're ready at the next step. Okay, so we're at the next stage now. We want to just change the time if we need to, and our time zone, I'm going to select GMT. Apply that, click OK. Okay, and then restart now. Boot from the hard disk again. Now when this boots into Windows, as soon as we can, we're going to shut down, and there's another step we need to make before we can really start using Windows. So on this window here we can click OK or cancel, it doesn't really matter. Okay, now we shut down. Go down to our search bar here, type in CMD and open a command prompt. Now I'm going to put this command in the description below, but I'm just going to copy this here. I've set this up already. This part here has to be the exact name and case of the installation of Windows 98 you created within VirtualBox. So as you can see here, it's Windows with a capital W space 98. So that's what I've done here. So I'm going to copy this entire line with Control C, and then in the command prompt I'm going to type Control V. So this is the path to VirtualBox and it's set in some extra data, and this is going to allow us to use our mouse properly within the program. So hit enter, and that's all done. Okay, so now we want to go back to VirtualBox and start Windows 98 again. Boot from the hard disk. And now my mouse is working correctly. So, OK, cancel, there's fine. Now this window here, once it's finished loading, there's a little tick box down in the bottom left hand corner which we just want to make sure that we untick and then close the window, and now that won't open again every time Windows starts. So the first thing we really need to do is install some graphics drivers, because at the moment if I right click on the desktop, click properties, go to settings, all we can select is 16 colours and 640 by 480, which is no good to us at all. So what we need to do is download some display drivers. Okay, so once again I will put this link down in the description, but we can download this file. That's gone into my downloads folder somewhere. Here it is. I'm going to drag that to the desktop. Now we need to attach any files that we want to use the same way we did with the Windows 98 2nd edition CD, and the only way to do that is if it is an ISO file. Okay, so this is an exe file, so we can't do that, so we need to turn it into an ISO file, and the way to do that is to use this program here called ImageBurn. So let me just show you. Here's their website. Once again, I'll put this link in the description. You can download this, install it. It's a very simple install. Once you've installed it, you'll have a link on your desktop. Double click on that link, and we want to click on this option here, create image file from files or folders. You can just drag that into that box there. Now if we click here, it'll ask us for a destination. We want to do that on the desktop, and we're going to call it sdd.iso. We can change that to SDD and that to SDD. Click yes, say OK, say OK, and now we can close the program. So now on our desktop we have this file here called sdd.iso. So go back into your Windows 98 installation and let's just shut that down. Click on settings, go to storage, click on this Windows 98 2nd edition ISO attachment as a CD, this option here, and now we want to choose this here, sdd.iso, or you may have to browse to it wherever you've saved that to. Click OK, restart Windows 98. Click cancel. Just give that a few seconds just to finish loading. And now I'm going to double click on my computer, and now we've got that SDD CD attached as a D on our D drive as a CD, a virtual CD. So double click on there, and now we can install SDD Win. Okay, we can click next here and next. I'm going to agree to the license, click next. Express installation is fine, click next, start install, and in a few seconds this will all be ready. Okay, we want to restart the computer, click finish. Unfortunately there's quite a lot of restarting. I think we've got to do this 3 or 4 more times yet. Click cancel. We can close that now. Okay, so if we go to home, we want to choose this option here, and I'm just going to choose this Super VGA 1024 by 768 and apply it. Click on home again. Now we want to choose this graphics adapter, or perhaps not, maybe this link here, display driver. Yep. And this says that the active driver is standard PCI graphics adapter, and we want the SciTech driver graphics adapter. So once you click on that, you've got this SciTech nucleus driver. Choose that, click apply, and it's asking us to restart our computer again. Click cancel again. Okay, so now we can minimize that, or actually we can just close that. Right click on the desktop, click properties, click settings. Now this isn't 32-bit yet. Okay, so click OK, and it's going to ask us to restart again. That's fine. The next time it restarts, it will give us the option to choose 32-bit color with a 1024 resolution. And if I remember rightly, it always just hangs here. So we're going to close that down and restart it manually. We don't want safe mode, we just want option 1 normal. That just happened because we shut the computer down in an inappropriate way. Click cancel. Right click on the desktop, properties, settings, let's close that again. 32-bit color, leave it at 1024 by 768. You can go all the way to 1600 by 1200 if you wish, but I don't really need it. Click OK. Now we're going to apply the new color settings without restarting. There's no need to restart this time. Click OK, and that's it. That's our graphic drivers done. Everything is working perfectly. We're now at the stage where we can start doing some more important things with Windows 98, even playing games. But the first thing we're going to do, I'm just going to click on Start, go to Settings, going to go to Control Panel, and then click on Internet Options, click on Connections, then Setup, and then we want to choose this last option here. I want to set up my internet connection manually, or I want to connect through a local area network. Click Next. I connect through a local area network. Click Next. Leave all of that as default. Click Next. No, we don't want to set up an internet mail account now. Just choose No. Click on Next. And do we want to connect to the internet immediately? Yeah, why not? Now this Microsoft page is not compatible with Internet Explorer 5, which is what's installed by default here. Now I know for a fact you can get Google to work, so we know we're connected to the internet. That's absolutely fine, but I will say at this point that browsing the internet on a Windows 98 computer is a really bad idea. I am going to show you how to install a relatively modern browser, Opera 9.6 I think, which works, and it will open up more web pages, but it still won't open up everything, and more importantly these computers, Windows 98, when it comes to browsing the internet, are incredibly vulnerable to viruses. So I would avoid it. There's not really any need to. I don't think so. That's not why I use Windows 98 in VirtualBox. I do it for other reasons, running old programs. But yeah, browsing the internet, there's not really any need for it. So I'm going to close that, and the next step I will show you how to install a more modern browser. But in the meantime, I'm going to pause the video. Okay, so this link here, www.oldversion, etc, etc. I'm going to put that in the description as well down below. That will open up this page here, and you can download Opera 9.64. Now I'm not going to do that because I've already done it. Just save a little bit of time. I downloaded it, and then once again I used image burn to create an ISO. Okay, which I did in here. I'm going to drag that to the desktop like so. Now down the bottom here we can right click on here and we can choose a disk image, and then on the desktop we got opera.iso. Double click on there, and now if we double click on my computer, it's attached. So we don't need to shut down to attach a CD image. We can do it while the operating system is running, when it's live, and then we can install Opera. Just leave everything as default, and then we want to run Opera. Now this message here, this is something that you probably should do if you are going to be using Opera. Because I'm not going to be, and I'm not going to be browsing the internet, I'm not going to worry about doing it, but just follow the instructions here. If you go back to let me see, to WinWorld, you can download Windows ME and you can extract this file and then install it in your Windows 98 installation, if you really want to do that. As I said, I'm not going to bother doing it myself because I just don't think it's necessary, but I just wanted to do this just to demonstrate what can be done. So we click close. This web page obviously doesn't exist anymore, but once again we can go to Google excuse me, and that works absolutely fine. Let's click on YouTube, see what happens. Well, it's not looking amazing. It's got problems and it's incredibly slow, but yeah, you see it works. So that's as far as I'm going to go, just to demonstrate what can be done. So I'm going to close that now and close that. So the next step is I just wanted to show you where you can find some old Windows 98 games that are Windows based rather than DOS based, which is one of the main reasons people want to set this kind of installation up, and we'll get it working, show you a really good game and see it working for real. So I'm going to pause the video for now and get ready for the next step. Right, so I spent a bit of time messing around with a few games to see what I could get running. I got Tomb Raider 2 working, I got some old Williams arcade games working. There's a few games that I've been struggling with, and they're generally the ones that require 3D accelerator cards. They're going to be very, very difficult to get going if the program insists that it runs with a 3D accelerator card. But just to demonstrate a game running for now, we'll go into more detail I think in this part 2 video that I'm going to do, but to just show you a game running, I've downloaded this one here, Lemmings, and I've created an ISO file using image burn like we did before, and I downloaded that from, let me just have a look, see if I can find it. I'm not sure if I've got the window open still, to be honest. I don't think I have, but archive.org have a section of abandonware, Windows 98 games that have been abandoned, and that's where I downloaded the game. Once again, I think in the part 2 video I can show you various places where games can be downloaded from, but I'm a little bit limited in that respect for legal reasons. I can't download just anything if it's illegal to do that in a YouTube video, so that's something you'll have to find yourself. The other thing you can do if you've got old Windows 98 games is you can attach them, you put them in a CD drive if you've got a CD drive in your computer, and select that option there, host drive D, and you can run real life CD Windows 98 games via the CD straight into the emulator. So anyway, let's get Lemmings going. So I think I've got something mounted there already, so that's why that came up. So yep, we've got lemmings.iso selected. Double click on my computer, we can see it's attached there. Double click, and then it's this icon here. This is a .exe file, so double click there. This warning's a bit odd. We're running 32-bit color, so we've certainly got more than one color, but it works anyway. There are some options here. Set options. You probably want to have all these selected and choose high resolution. Click OK, and then we can play a level. So if you've not played this game, oh, we seem to be on about level 4 or something. I had a go on this a little bit earlier, I must admit. First of all, what we need to do is some digging. This was a game that I played quite a bit back in the day, trying to get through as many levels as I possibly could. I can't remember how many I got through. Quite a lot, and some of them got quite difficult. And now we make them climb. So you just... Right, most of them are making their way out. I've got to wait till these 3 come back. If I click on them there, they'll climb up there. So now I've clicked on all of those, they should just climb up and make their way out. And then we can have a little look at the next level. So as I was saying, this is a true Windows game. If they're DOS-based games, this is not really the platform for it. So this really is the platform for playing original Windows games. Let's have a look at the next level. And if they require 3D acceleration, like Rogue Squadron, that was one of the ones that I tried to install. What do we do here? Oh, he breaks through. Yeah, Rogue Squadron. It requires 3D acceleration. And as a result, it just will not run, because even though the machine will be plenty fast enough to make that work, it just won't allow it. Now we can actually move the screen across here like this. That's where we're going next. Now we need to we'll turn this off in a second. Let's just see if we can get some of these going through. So there we go, that's another level completed. So yeah, in a nutshell, 3D accelerator games, that's going to be a problem. We can make quite a lot of games work very successfully. I have done in the past many games. You can do it directly from a CD, or you can do it the way creating the ISO files and attaching them as a CD. There's lots and lots of places you can download these games, but there's also a lot of things that we need to do to make a lot of these programs work. You need up-to-date DirectX drivers, for example. I think it's DirectX version 7 point something is the most up-to-date one that's compatible with Windows 98 SE. We'll cover that in part 2 as well, and we'll deal with it. There's some more things that we can do within SDD as well, so we'll cover that. So until then, I think that's it for this video. I hope it's been of some use to you, and I hope you're going to be interested in part 2. And if there is anything that you want included in a part 2, then please let me know. But until next time, thanks for watching, and bye for now.